Welcome to Digging for Wisdom, and we are about ready to head into old week 8. Obviously, what everybody was really talking about from last week was the game everybody wanted to see, which was the Duncanville DeSoto game. And I tell you what, you had two players on there putting on a show and looking around saying, okay, every single camera's on us. Dallas Morning News got 3 reporters out at one game. It's time to prove why we're 5 stars. And those guys hooked up all day long. We're talking about obviously Keelan Russell and DeCorey Moore, and I don't know if Keelan went to his Alabama's game, but I know DeCorey took off for Oregon, Ohio State, and I'm sure it got a lot of passing up. Hey, I saw all that stuff on the Twitter. You must be the greatest receiver all the time. Talk about how they manhandled DeSoto. You kind of thought that. I thought DeSoto might pull it out, but boys, I'm off on that one.
Yeah, I just thought the talent, because both teams, I think I saw a statistic, Mike Leslie from WFAA said something like 27 of the starters are going to go have college scholarships already kind of committed to playing. So both teams are really, really good on both sides of the ball. But like you talked about, at the end of the day, it's about the big stars who can make big plays in big situations. And, even going back to the North Shore and Duncanville games over the last 5-6 years, that's kind of been what we saw. It's like the big stars show up for those games, and I kind of thought that we would see the big stars show up for this game, and sure enough, almost to a T, you could see the biggest stars had the biggest impacts in this game. And DeSoto just looks a little bit lost to me. It's like they've got this collection of talent, but this talent really isn't gelling well. Last year's talent gelled, and I think even if you looked kind of player for player, Duncanville's players last year were a little bit better than DeSoto's players, but DeSoto, they like transformed, all of a sudden, they turned from Megatron to, Voltron or something like that. I should know my Transformers a little bit better. But Optimus Prime to Rodimus Prime, it's like they got into the second level. And DeSoto this year has not shown that. And I'm to the point, Ward, where I kind of think if I had this week, if we had on our little byline there, if we had Southlake Carroll versus DeSoto, I think even with Riley Wormley being injured for Southlake, I think right now I would take Southlake over DeSoto. I think I'm going to honor DeSoto in the rankings given that they won last year, but right now it's that close. I think DeSoto has dropped back a little bit to the pack, and I think one thing that might have been a little bit of false bravado for DeSoto in deciding to opt up in the first place is that depth. And their frontline players, or top 22, are as good as anybody in the state. But where does that depth come in? And Duncanville, obviously being twice the size of DeSoto, has that depth, and I think they're able to flex that this week.
And you can't say enough about, and I know we've done a story about him, and it looks like by going through Twitter, it looks like Greg Riddle's doing something about him too. Just the rise of Keelan Russell. He was pushed in there as a sophomore to take in for the injured quarterback that they had. He even admitted to us he's a little bit nervous, a little bit scared. He's a little, his mom's like, he's such a puny little kid, and he's so skinny and whatnot. You just got to eat and whatnot. She admitted now that she needs to lock the refrigerator come 9 o'clock because now he is eating all the time and getting built. But some of those passes he made against DeSoto were on the run and pinpoint, and it's just terrific to see the progress from. I know Rhett Lashley's like, what the heck, man? We saw this. That's why we threw him a scholarship last year. But now it went all the way up to the point where now he's at Alabama. He's at the top as he can possibly go. He's ranked the number 1 quarterback out there, and he proves it every time he's out there, especially in games that they need him to perform. That's what he's going to do, and I'm really looking forward to this 6-game playoff run. I probably won't really have to pay much attention to the first or second one, but after that, I want to see how he shows that when every eye's on him again, because he just gets better and better, and it's a sight to see, because I've never seen anybody progress the way he has from the middle of his junior year to now, being so elite as he is.
At 450 yards against DeSoto. And I'm not a recruiting guy, so what I might say might just make you roll your eyes or make some of our recruiting guys. Kenny Matthews, our guy who's going to be doing those last looks. What's that segment called over there?
Next level. Next level. Final decision.
He's probably going to roll his eyes at that kind of stuff. But, I was watching the Alabama and South Carolina game yesterday, and Jalen Milroe, he's very mobile, but he doesn't feel comfortable throwing the ball. No. It's like if he's got a wide wide open guy. He can hit the guy, but the throws that Keelan are making is just everything. He looks a little bit more like and I hate to say this, a polished Kyler Murray. Just his ability to get the ball downfield, throw into traffic, get out of the pocket, and he can run too. But why do you need to run right now? Why take a hit? And I think that's smart for him. So he looks like he's somebody who we could be watching not only on Saturdays very quickly, but also on Sundays. He's a special player, and we can say, Ward, in 5 or 6 years when we're doing this, I remember when you remember Keelan Russell, you remember Kyler Murray's just going to be one more bobblehead that we remember and we talk about forever.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about some teams that you want to kind of pump up here and toss a flower or two at. No?
Let's talk about what you're doing this week. Everyone, I want to hear what you're doing this week because I understand you're going to load, you're going to gas up the car. You can go to Sam's because you are a fiscally sound person. You got to make sure you got to get that cheap gas, and you are taking a trip down south. Houston
trip. Gosh bless it. You know what? Every year there's always something we like to call the perfect storm where 2 or 3 of our freelancers have a vacation, have booked another gig, what have you. It happens once a year. This is the week it's happening down in Houston. And when they're out, it's just like if you worked at Applebee's as a manager. Well, if 4 dishwashers can't make it, guess who's doing the dishes? Your boy's going in the back and rolling up that suit and washing the dishes. So I'm washing the dishes this week. I'm heading down to Houston. Of course, I have carte blanche of what I want to shoot. So I wanted to take the Katie Jordan game because that's, Katie's won 27 of the last 30 games or 30 district titles down there. And I actually think this is the year where Jordan may actually take him. But every time I say something like that, I'm thinking of you talking about Ric Flair. And I'm like, all right, well, I want to see if they can beat the man. Because I went down there the last time they lost the district title. It was one of the perfect storms. And I saw Tompkins beat Katie. So I was actually there for that one. So I was like, let me see if I can get down there. But it's close to one of my other guys, so I'm going to go see Willis against Conroe. Conroe's got a defensive back, a 5-star, Dorian Brew, that I'm looking forward to seeing. They're both undefeated. Willis has the heir apparent to DJ Lagway, a kid named Jermaine Bishop, who just plays all over the field as a junior, getting recruited everywhere. And it's in North Houston, so I don't have to go that far into it. So, and it's enough for me to get around, turn around, and still make it up for Kimball Carter, which we'll talk about in probably an hour and a half. We'll talk about that game as we go through these games. But, yeah, Wizzy's hitting the road, man. I'm hitting the road, seeing what's going on down there in Houston, keeping an eye on my Houston guys. They don't like it when the big boss comes down there, but I'm going to come down there and put an eye on. It's
important because, last year Willis and DeSoto was an integral part of, the playoff thing. I don't know how Houston districts, because I don't do Houston. I don't do church ball. I don't do Houston board.
Right.
But I know you have to do all of it because you are the producer. You don't get a break. You have to go. You have to do them all. You have to do everything. You have to know 6-man Houston, small school, SPC, private, public, 6-man. 8-man, you got to do it all when you're the Wizzy.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, you bring that up, and when we talk about Houston football, when me and Matt Stepp, we do one down there, we always talk about who might make it in state out of 6A, and we're only talking about Region 3. Because when we were talking about Region 2, we just talked about who's going to make it 3 rounds deep and then get knocked off by either Duncanville or DeSoto or 4 rounds deep, however long it goes. We never talk about which one of those 4 districts in the Region 2 there could possibly go to state, because none of them can possibly go to state. They can all have heck of a seasons, but they're going to run into those 2, and then that's a wrap. So it's like you said, it's important to see who can go 12 or 13 rounds deep, and then that's a wrap. That's it, because they ain't going 16. So it'll be fun. I need to get down there. I don't think I made it down there last year. So this will be my first time in 2 years going back down there. So I'm looking forward to it. I missed out on some Friday action up here, but I will see some Thursday action with the South Lake Carroll Northwest, and I'll see some Saturday action on the way back with the old Kimball Carter game. So it'll be fun.
While you're talking, I looked at the old computer spreadsheet because sometimes when I don't know what I'm talking about, I like to look at the computer spreadsheet. And Willis looks like a pretty solid favorite numerically in District 13. And the way that would line up would be, I guess, a 3rd round game against DeSoto again. So it looks like that might be trending that way. And so who else will be able to say, I've seen DeSoto and Willis, maybe Steph, but you, Wizzy, it's just you. So you are our savior for the 3rd round around the playoffs this year. So thank you, Wizzy.
That
Everybody, hashtag thank you, Wizzy.
Thank you. Get it out there. That is true. I remember last year I talked to Coach Miller at Willis when they're about ready to play DeSoto, and he's like, man, he really wanted to do the coin flip, but didn't want to have to risk. He wanted to take the risk, but then didn't want to take the risk. So he decided on neutral because he knew if he decided on neutral, it wasn't going to be neutral between DeSoto and Willis. It was going to be that triangle deal that you talk about, and that's exactly what they did. They all went down to San Antonio for that game. Made it a little bit more difficult for me to get highlights of it, but I'm assuming that's probably the route it will take again this year if it happens. They have been scoring a heck of a lot of points, so that's what they do. They score a lot, they give up some. So now let's talk about some flowers. What do you got for me? Who's getting a flower or two?
Well, let's start out with kind of a redemption story, because we were talking about a shovel watch a couple weeks ago with Crowley, and Crowley all of a sudden looks like they've got something a little bit figured out. And not only did they beat Mansfield this week, and Mansfield was currently undefeated. You know, we talked about this game how I thought Crowley was going to win, but I didn't have strong confidence on it because of the way Mansfield had found a way to win each game. But they did it with style points, Ward. I mean, that game was four scores in the fourth quarter. You got a couple of garbage touchdowns to make the score look a little bit closer. But everything looks like it's clicking back over at Crowley again. I think beating up on some of these teams in District 3 6A is regaining the confidence. And, Crowley is starting to look like the team we were thinking we might see back, when we were talking about hypothetical 9-0 versus 9-0 in the last week. Could anybody push North Crowley? I don't think they're going to push North Crowley. I don't think North Crowley is going to get pushed for a while. But Crowley, get some flowers.
Give them some flowers.
When you get the shovel watch, sometimes you get the shovel watch, sometimes you get the flowers. You get them both this year. And
remember, it was just a shovel watch, so we're not reversing that stuff. There's no receipts necessary. We were just watching from afar, having it up like this, but didn't swing it. All right, keep going.
I'm a little disappointed in you, Ward, because kind of listening back to our show last week, I think you had an opportunity to look really intelligent, and you didn't take it. I gave it to you, and you took it a couple. I mean, you even said in our fantasy you thought the quarterback was going to look good, and Arlington Bowie, beating up Arlington Martin the way they did, 20-0. I know you were all over that early, and then Martin kind of jumped back in there. But when you throw that punch and then you get the counter punch, to have the skills and the ability to take that counter punch and get back in there. Arlington Bowie looks like they are the team in District 8 6A right now. So they get some flowers for that. And we were on top of it early, at campfires. We thought Arlington Bowie would be better. But then in non-district, it's like, we had to kind of reverse ourselves because they looked like, it just wasn't all there. But now, again, kind of like Crowley, it's how you finish. It's not how you start. And Arlington Bowie is looking pretty good. So Arlington Bowie is going to get some flowers. Some sad flowers, but good flowers for Denton Ryan. Obviously, a lot of sadness in Denton Ryan this past week with the death of their defensive coordinator, Coach De La Torre. But the way that they came out and played to honor him and to honor his legacy over there, that was very heartening to see. And Denton Ryan was able to get back, and maybe through this tragedy, the team will gel together and should get some more flowers. So obviously our condolences to Coach De La Torre and his family over there, and the Denton Ryan extended family. Everybody knew Coach De La Torre over in the Denton Ryan community. So not only flowers for mourning, but flowers for their performance this past week. And then Midlothian, I don't know if this is more flowers for Midlothian or kind of a shovel watch for Burleson Centennial, but to be down 27-9 in the fourth quarter, Ward, and to win that game but on the last play of the game, and with a freshman being one of the players, the wide receiver that was getting some publicity in that game. Midlothian looks like they're a solid third-place team. Maybe they can go up to second if Red Oak continues to sputter a little bit. But to come back like that in the fourth quarter, big flowers for Midlothian.
Yeah, that was a heck of a comeback. And more on Coach De La Torre. You can't talk to anybody that's in our business or in the high school football business that has negative thing. He put a smile on everybody's face, took the time to talk to anybody that wanted to stop and talk to him. So it truly is a tragedy. We hated to see it. I'm glad they could bounce back, and maybe they took out some of their grief on on Richland there, and they didn't really give much of a chance to stay in that game. So congrats for them for pulling together and getting that win and probably doing it for him. I didn't hear if they said they were going to do it for him or not, but they did. And let's move on to some shovels here, because there's not many. There's people on the watch list, but there's only one that's getting it. Only one person getting dirt shoved on him. Who's that? What team is that?
It's funny because, everything kind of goes back to Denton Ryan, because the team we thought this year was going to be a much better team, because last year they did beat Denton Ryan, was the Colony. And now the Colony, after losing to Burleson 10-7, that's it, Ward. There's no coming back from this one. I mean, that's in that district after losing to Burleson. Good night, the Colony.
They can't duck the shovel on that, can they? You're exactly right. Not in that one. And you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do. I was kind of disappointed because I showed up at Flower Mound versus Lewis. I actually, it was a funny story. I got both my kids getting licenses. One has one, the other one's on the verge. I took him out Friday during the day to practice parallel parking, and he couldn't quite get it, but he eventually got it. And I was like, just do it like your dad does. And I'm barely even looking, and I'm pulling in these spots. They call this the pat on the back segment. I'm just pulling into spots like nobody's business. I was finding tight ones. He's like, I can't do it. Well, you
dad parallel park, Ward. You need to take me out there.
I'll take you out there. But anyway, I get to Flower Mound in the second half. And if I hadn't got all that practice in, I would have still be driving on right now looking for a spot. But I saw one. I was like, let me give this old shot. 3 moves. I'm in there. Pow! Just like that. That's how he does it. I'm going to go take my license test again just to do that part. And then say, I already got my license. I just want to show you I know what time it is when it comes to parallel parking. Anyway, I show that they're down by 21-17. So it's like, okay, both teams are scoring. I didn't get check the box score, but I don't know if Carter Massey got hurt in the first half or what happened, but he was not on the field. Noah Spinks couldn't find anybody. I'm now worried about them because they couldn't stop the run at all. Louisville wasn't passing that much. By the way, kudos to D'Angelo. I believe his last name is King, their defensive back. He's really having a solid year. He had another pick six. He's got 2 pick sixes this year, along with a couple other picks. Their secondary is something else over there at Louisville, but I'm worried about Flower Mound and how they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't generate any kind of offense in the second half. If I had a shovel watch, I'd put them on there, but I don't have that. That's up to Diggs. And I hate to do that to my own squad. I'd probably put them on there because I saw in the dump that you still got them in there at 4. I can't even see them in the playoffs just from a second half that I saw. I don't know where they go if this Carter Massey thing lasts longer. I didn't realize how – we both saw him against Lake Highlands. He was a major factor, obviously scored 2 of their touchdowns in that one. Maybe he's the only go-to guy they got. The running game wasn't doing anything. So I got him on shovel watch, even though I don't necessarily have a shovel to watch with.
Well, a couple. I'll kind of refer to my experience last year getting to watch these teams in the district with the Plano East. And, when Flower Mound was, smitten by injuries last year quite a bit, and trying to get their quarterback in there. He was limping around and just couldn't run the ball, but was playing in there. Flower Mound is a very resilient team, and usually it seems like after a couple of weeks they figure it out. Somebody will step up in there, and I don't like to do injury speculation, but at least from what I hear, it was not a weight bearing injury. It kind of looked like collarbone, shoulder kind of a thing. That could just be a bruise, or it could be worse than that. So hopefully it's on the positive thing when you see a kid walk off the field, with all their weight on. That's usually a good sign if it's an upper body injury. So don't give up on your Jaguars quite yet. They match up very well against Hebron. The Mom Showdown's going to, have something to say for it all as well. The kids are going to get up for that even if there are injuries. So I'm not willing to get the shovel watch out quite yet, but obviously a disappointing second half, and losing him probably shifted the game plan at the very least.
Absolutely. All right, let's go into some games this week, man. You want to start off in 3-6A? We always do. There's no sense in changing it now. Let's go
It's our
back
North Star, just like we do with the dump. The North Star is North Crowley this year, and right now we got two teams that are playing for playoffs right here. And this is where every year, Ward, this would not necessarily be a game that is like a game of the week kind of a week, but every year there's a team, and it's like the Mansfield teams right now, Mansfield Summit. We're going to kind of say the same thing when we get to the 5A side of things. That just all of a sudden, it's like with South Grand Prairie, they start getting a couple of wins, they start to get a little bit of confidence, and all of a sudden they jump up a spot on you. And right now, Mansfield Legacy has that opportunity. I think they're in, but after kind of Mansfield looks like they're free falling against Crowley, can Mansfield Legacy maybe steal a win that they shouldn't have gotten that kind of exposes Mansfield? I'm going to say no, but this is one of those games that it could happen. From what I've seen with Mansfield Legacy, they were dominant this past week, and now Mansfield with some curiosities. I'm taking Mansfield because I think they got a lot more talent, but Mansfield's Legacy skill kids, I think, can compete with Mansfield, and you're going to have that intra-MISD rivalry here. Watch out for this game, Ward.
And if they can go on a 2-game winning streak and take Crowley out the following week, all of a sudden they're not playing South Lake Carroll in the first round, and that'll be a nice little thing for them. But let's not put the cart ahead of the horse. Let's see how they do against Mansfield.
But every year something like that happens. Like all of a sudden, they a team gets on a roll, and all of a sudden, last year it was kind of Plano East. Plano East lost to Hebron early, and then got a couple of wins over your Flower Mound and Marcus teams, and all of a sudden, third place. Nobody, I didn't even pick Plano East to be third place last year. They got third place, so Mansfield Legacy could be like that this year.
It could be that squad. All right. Battle undefeateds, but it doesn't really seem that way because just the Northwest hasn't really had that powerful schedule to prove to us that they can handle a South Lake Carroll team who now they're going to the passing game a little bit more now that they only have a one-headed monster back there instead of two. But tell me what you think about this Thursday night special.
These names are too long, Ward. Like I'm being blocked right now on my own screen. Like your chin there is kind of getting cut off. I got a longer neck than you, so I'm a little bit above all of this kind of stuff. But got too long of names here, Ward. What do you do when you're producing like this? When you got like Mansfield, Lake Ridge versus how do you get all that stuff on there? Like, do you have to tell Pat Doney to like speak quicker? How do we handle this?
Put some abbreviations in there. SL Carroll against Northwest. Justin gets taken out altogether. By the way, which of my three chins is it blocking out? Because I gotta get all three of my chins.
It's all the way down, Ward. You got to work on that. This is aesthetics or podcasting. But I think you in your setup you spoke of why this game is important, but why this game is kind of insignificant at the same time, because it's a chance for Justin Northwest to show they're closer to the top three than they are to kind of the middle three, because their schedule has not been very. They got lucky. They're playing the bottom feeders of the district so far. But the way Northwest plays the ball, they're very physical. They like to run the ball, and they like to kind of compress the clock. So you get situations in there where you have only 2 or 3 possession halves. I'm not saying Justin Northwest could pull the upset, but when Keller has been good and played South Lake Carroll in the past a little bit better, a little bit closer, that was kind of the formula they used. So if they can keep this to a 5 to 6 possession game, maybe all of a sudden this is a 35-21 game and, South Lake is going to win. But Justin Northwest, they jump up the rankings a little bit. So, again, I'm not looking for a winner on this game. I'm picking South Lake. I'm looking for style points, Ward. I think Justin Northwest has the opportunity and maybe the high potential to get some style points in this game.
And if they don't hear,
I don't think it's going to be a fun game to shoot, by the way. No, I think you're going to be a little bit bored. 4 yards is what you're going to see.
4 yards. That's it. The longest
play. You may get some explosive plays for South Lake.
All right.
Especially one receiver might have a couple of explosive plays, but on Justin Northwest, I think you're going to see a lot of 4-yard plays.
One receiver. All right, tough guy. 5-6A. These guys are at the top right now, both undefeated, Capel and Louisville. But boy, Capel is playing at an unbelievably high level. Obviously, you've already talked about the 4 teams in 6A that you have way up there with South Lake, North Crowley, and the 11 6A teams. But maybe this team, Capel, is like a notch below. And if they can go into Louisville and do some damage, they could even prove they're a little bit better because, Louisville's not going to be passing the ball there. I watched that passing game. There ain't nothing there. It's the running game, and it's their defensive secondary that could play some stuff, do some stuff for them. Tell me what you feel about this one.
Well, in talking to some of my Louisville insiders, one thing that they were very pleased about, and one thing that I've been calling on for Louisville for the last year, especially last year when I was really hard on their coaching staff, was if you got something that works, stick with it. And I felt like Louisville last year tried to force the pass a little bit too much, especially with that really good offensive line and that the running backs that they've had over the last 3 or 4 years. And this week specifically against Flower Mound, it seems like in the second half they just kind of got back to basics. They just kind of said, okay, this is what's going to work. We're going to lean on Flower Mound because Flower Mound's infrastructure is pretty good. So Louisville being able to do that in the second half kind of gives me the hope that maybe they can be competitive against Coppell if they can stick with that philosophy and game plan. Coppell has been high and low at times this year. They've been a little bit inconsistent. They've had some high highs, but then they've had Denton Geyer, and then they've had the Waxahachie game where you have some question marks. But then the way they beat Hebron last week, it was dominant. So which version of Coppell are we going to get? Which version of Louisville are we going to get? A lot of key questions there. Coppell should be a favorite, but if Louisville can shorten the clock and run the way they can, and that those DBs, like you said, are able to kind of force Coppell into a one-dimensional game where they have to run, I see the recipe, Ward. It's like my meatloaf. I see the recipe for a Louisville upset. I just don't have the confidence in Louisville to get that food in the oven.
You don't have a chance to put the timer in there and run that thing. All right, let's move on to 6-6A. It's obviously I'm going to be changing this graphic as we go because you're just kind of talk all encompassing. But let's start off by talking about Prosper and McKinney. Prosper is that team again where I don't really talk about them all that much, but they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're usually their schedule is loaded at the back end. Well, here it starts up right here. Talk to me about this McKinney game and what might happen here.
Yeah, this is kind of just our 6-6A hodgepodge because, I'm not going to go in depth into all of the games. But the people in Plano, who I trust, Plano Senior High, have now seen Prosper and Allen, and both of them think, both multiple people in Plano. I like to word this so we don't know who I'm actually talking about. But multiple people at Plano Senior High think I'm an idiot for multiple reasons, obviously, Ward. But they think Prosper's better than Allen. They've seen them both, and they think after seeing both of them, they're like, Diggs, we had no chance against Prosper. Like they just beat us up. But Allen, we kind of felt like we were in it. If a thing broke here or there, we thought we had a chance. But Prosper, we had no chance. So I think Allen is a little bit better than Prosper right now. So I'm keeping an eye on that. So that's kind of just my Prosper thing now that I've heard from Plano Senior High and getting to see both teams. And this district is weird, Ward. It's like the opposite of 4-5A Division II because 4-5A Division II, that's with Anna and Lovejoy and Melissa. Yeah. All those good games are at the front. So it's like they've happened, and now we're going to get to see a lot of trash games at the end of the schedule. In 6-6A, we had kind of the opposite. A lot of the bad games were up front, and a lot of the middle games haven't happened yet. So I think there's a storyline for McKinney, for Plano, for Plano East, and Prosper Rock Hill to say, hey, this is how we can make our run. This is how we can even get as high as third place in this district. And right now, we really don't know much because there's only been one game in that middle, and that's been McKinney beat Plano, and they only beat them by 2. So, there's a lot of questions in that middle. I think Prosper is a dominant team over McKinney, but then you got Plano East and Rock Hill. Last year, Rock Hill beat Plano East by 4 scores, and that game was a 42-point game at one point. So can Plano East get better? I think at Kimbrough that they might have something to say about that. And then you've got McKinney, Boyd, and Plano. This is like Plano. Can they avoid a very upset-minded McKinney Boyd? McKinney Boyd had that game against Rock Hill. It was 21-18, and they were driving in the fourth quarter. They had a player go down, and then all of a sudden that kind of exploded. Rock Hill got a late touchdown, and they won by 10. So we got 3 games right now that's going to start painting the picture, Ward, of how 6-6A is going to go. And for Prosper is very invested in this because if Rock Hill makes the playoffs, they're now going D1, and then now they're looking at how they're going to have to handle North Crowley and teams like that. But if one of the two Plano schools make it, all of a sudden they're now in D2, and that's a much easier road for Prosper. So I know Prosper is a big fan of Plano or Plano East right now, and they're going to be kind of keeping an eye on this Rock Hill game. But I've got Plano East to pull a little bit of an upset over Rock Hill. I think McKinney Boyd has a really good chance to beat Plano, but Plano has been consistently good, much better than they've been the last couple of years, and I think Prosper is going to beat mud hole into McKinney and walk it dry. So all three of these games in 6-6A, I think, are going to start to give us a little bit of insight because we haven't had much insight. We know Prosper and Allen are our top two. I think we know Plano West and Princeton are the bottom two. But really, there's a lot of parity in that middle five. And this week is finally going to give us some insight into that.
That's true. We thought maybe we get some collaboration at the beginning of the year when McKinney played Emerson, but both of them were at a little bit lower levels than we thought they were when we went into that game. So I don't know how much we learned from that thing, except they were young bucks trying to get the thing started. All right. We also got to try to figure out the 7-6A because right now you have Berkner on the outside looking in, but they come out here in a rivalry game and flip up Lake Highlands, who they were scouting out like nobody's business on Thursday night. They had a couple, 2-3 coaches up there. They flipped that thing. All of a sudden, I don't know who you're going to knock out the playoff. I guess the other game we're going to talk about, I'll have something to say about that too. But talk to me about this one. We got to figure out what we're going to call the stadium for the rest of this year and next year. Because right now it's what, Ram Wildcat?
Ram Wildcat Stadium. And this pack of games we're going to talk about really changed things up last year because all of a sudden, if Berkner gets this win, they go from potentially 5 to potentially 1. That's how variable I think between 1 and 5 is in this district because everybody in the middle, there's been a lot of games that have been played, but Berkner has only played one of those games. So they still got three more to where they can overcome that loss against Richardson. And Berkner is kind of like Frisco Emerson is where they got to get two things, Ward. One upset doesn't really do them any good. They got to get 2 upsets or they got to hope that Richardson gets upset. And just like the district with Frisco Emerson, you can't really rely on the Frisco ISD teams to do something, and you can't really rely on the Irving ISD teams to do anything. So you got to do it yourself, Ward. But Lake Highlands, to me, just looks like such a complete team right now, especially relative to the other Richardson ISD schools. Berkner they got the talent, Ward. It's just not clicking. So until I see something that changes my mind, I got to stick with Lake Highlands. But rivalry, kind of like the Mound Showdown, and we saw it last year. Berkner did it last year, and Berkner did it convincingly last year. You would think that I would have a little bit more confidence, but I just you can't do that to Richardson. You can't lose to Richardson the way they did with 70 yards or whatever. Lake Highlands is going to shut that thing down, but I think Lake Highlands is going to be able to get the yards that they want with Christian Rhodes and some of the really talented offensive linemen who are opening up holes for them. Berkner just seems a little bit lost, Ward, and I don't think it's going to get fixed in 1 week. But if it's going to be a team to do it, it'll be Lake Highlands.
And seeing them on the sideline. And seeing them on the sidelines. Goodness gracious! What playing about?
Highline. You're on the highlines, Ward. You're like a beer commercial waiting to happen.
On the high life. But yeah, you see in Lake Highlands on the sidelines, they're playing with an unbelievable amount of confidence now because they've already taken out 2 of the big dogs in this thing, and if they get Berkner, they only really have to worry about Richardson, and we don't even know. Right now, we got Richardson's 5-1. They're taking on Pierce, who's an offensive juggernaut this year with a Casa Grande. Every time I say that, I feel like I need to go get some fajitas and some Tex-Mex or something. But yeah, Richardson and Pierce, it will be our game of the week just because we don't have Richardson teams in there that much. And they're playing at the top of the district right now. Damian Crow seems to have been a turning point over there for the Eagles. Is it going to be able to stick against this Pierce team as they're playing for stadium rights as well?
They are. We've been at Mustang Eagle for a while. It feels like this Pierce is Richardson hasn't quite been a playoff contender. But for me, I think it's the depth of Richardson that's still a struggle. They've got a couple of pieces that are really nice. Cole Cage over there. They got that really talented offensive lineman that kind of came out of nowhere. But Pierce just seems more complete across, and they're healthy right now. If you're a smart board, because I don't know who you're picking for fantasy quite yet. If you haven't picked your Pierce players yet, this would probably be a good week to pick them because once Pierce gets to the Irving ISD schools, it's kind of shut it down and knock them out. Unfortunately, I've taken my Pierce players. I wish I could have Pierce players every week on my fantasy pick them because they are that good. I just don't think Richardson has the offensive consistency to go blow for blow. Pierce's defense is going to let him score. I think Richardson's going to get some points, but Richardson's defense hasn't shown me the confidence that they're going to be able to slow down Pierce at all. So in yet another shootout, I think Pierce is going to win like a 56-42 kind of a game because I don't think Richardson is going to be able to stay up score for score with him.
Interesting. So you say I should take some Pierce players for fantasy?
Yeah,
maybe I will. And as you see, my hands aren't doing nothing but it's on the mouse. We'll see what happens. We'll see what we've already picked. All right, let's move on to 9-6A.
Why are we skipping 8-6A, Ward?
So that's
Don't we have a district title game over there?
That's a choice you've made. A choice you have made. So anybody at 8-6A
for
wants
North
to give
Carolina versus South Carolina.
Anybody wants
I don't believe in Arlington. Arlington we'll go behind. There you go.
I made it, but you canceled it. But I made it.
Kind of a thing. I just didn't view this game
let me put it this way. A couple of weeks ago, you believed in them when they beat South Grand Prairie. You were like, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe you didn't believe in them to beat Bowie, but you believed in them a little bit. And now all of a sudden, you don't even want to put them up there. As we skip over to talk about North Garland and South Garland, I felt that to be odd and disrespectful to Arlington ISD.
Between those two teams, but we're going to get we got to ignore Arlington and Bowie. I think Bowie wins convincingly.
Okay, there you go. There's our insight. They are playing good. We did talk about how we thought they were going to be great on offense and struggle on defense, and that's pretty much what's played out for them. All right, North Garland, South Garland. You say this game's at 5:30?
5:30 on Thursday. I guess we got fall break over there in Garland ISD, so all the games are at 5:30 this week because they want to go home early. Ward, they don't. It's like it's vacation
Makes
time
sense.
for them. We don't need to have these late night games, but that's one of the reasons why I'm going to go to it. Also, Ward, my heart has been big for South Garland. I am not going into this game as an objective. Basically, 2 of my 3 games this week that I'm going to go to, I'm not going to as an objective journalist. I'm going as a fan. It'll be Plano Eastern Rock Hill. I'm going to go cheer on, and I'm going to cheer on South Garland because I want South Garland to get a district victory so bad. They've been so close, and then that 2-point conversion against Garland a couple of weeks ago that they didn't get. This is their chance, Ward, and I want to go see it. It's like Fort Worth Poly makes the playoffs. I'm going to go see it. I think South Garland has a chance to get a win. I want to go see it. This is for nothing good. There's not a district playoff. There's not playoff ramifications here. It's pride. Who's going to get a district win? And I think it's going to be. And this is one of those old school rivalries, Ward. It's like Katie and Katie Jordan. Just throw out the records when they play. When did Katie Jordan open? Is that even?
It's open in 2021.
But this is like one of the original rivalries in Garland ISD. The alumni are going to come out for this one for a 5:30 start, Ward. I'm taking an upset pick. Give me South Garland. And remember the Colonel, or the Titans, or whatever they're called today.
They have been super close to pulling off a win in this district. Matter of fact, last week they were 10 touchdowns away from putting that thing into overtime. So they're just about there. And we'll see what they can do against North Garland, who is winless on the year. All right, let's move on to 10-6A. Forney. I don't know what to say about Forney. You thought they were going to pull off that upset against Longview, and they played ball for a quarter, and then it's like, that's it. We did all we can. Old Boozy Washington out there making them say, Tatum who? Who was this Tatum guy we had? Because he only carried it 12 times for 200. He barely had to work for his 200 yards, kind of like Derrick Henry on Sunday against the Commanders. But he barely had to work for those 200 yards, and they just took him out. And now they're playing Rockwall, and now they're in. I don't know how much danger they are of making the playoffs, but they're certainly not going for no district title now. Forney.
Now this is bad, and I said it on the dump, and I can say it on the podcast. if there's one team I've just been incredibly disappointed in this year, it's Forney. Because when you pull up Forney's stat sheet, you see Nelson Peterson, you see Javian Osborne, you see their really good receivers.
Kelvin Riggins.
Yeah, I mean, you Kelvin Riggins is doing great. So they've got these D1 players who are out there producing, but the rest of the team is just not showing up. I mean, Forney is one of the bigger head scratching teams of the year. I said it on the dump. I'm not mad at Forney. I'm just disappointed, and disappointment has been flowing out of Forney. And now, if they don't win this game, they've got 3 losses in district and having to look at Rockwall Heath and Tyler Legacy and Roy City. Like they have to win. At that point, they beat Roy City, but they can't get upset by Rockwall Heath or Tyler Legacy. And remember, Ward, Rockwall Heath was up on North Forney in the fourth quarter, and then Legend Bay was legendary with 300 rushing yards, including a late touchdown in that game. So Rockwall Heath is good enough to beat Forney. So Forney may not even make the playoffs. So you are absolutely right in saying that they are completely at risk. I mean, talk about getting your fantasy points in. This looks like a 63-56 game. If you remember that Rockwall Heath game a couple of years ago that went in the 70s, because neither of these teams can play defense. It seems like Longview just carved both of these teams up. I think Rockwall is going to win because Forney, I have no confidence in them whatsoever anymore.
But remember, he's not mad at you. He just wishes you could do better and apply yourself more. He's just a little disappointed. That's all. He's not mad.
A lot of opportunities for improvement in Forney. But Rockwall, I was disappointed in Rock. It's like the disappointment bowl for 10-6A that both these teams have been a little bit down on what I thought we could get out of them. So one of them is going to right the ship, and I trust the Yellow Jackets to right the ship.
Gotcha. Well, guess what?
Which means Forney's probably going to win by 35.
The Country Roads is heading down to Lumpkin Stadium this week to see Cedar Hill and Waxahachie. My man Jason will be on the call. Neil Beasley will put a sweet little package together for you on Monday. Cedar Hill's last chance to make some sort of move towards the postseason. I mean, they're going to have to pull this one off and probably another one, and watch out for Mesquite Horn, who seems to be playing people a little bit better than we expected. Talk to me about what you feel about this one, and does Cedar Hill have a chance? I mean, they're playing so undisciplined these days. The penalties are out of this world, what they're doing out there.
Yeah, on paper, it looks like Cedar Hill matches up very well against Waxahachie, but Waxahachie has executed more. But then, like you mentioned, Mesquite Horn, that game was a one-score game for almost a majority of the game, just back and forth. Waxahachie got a couple of score separation, and Horn got a late touchdown to make it a one-score game. But it was back and forth, and it kind of showed some vulnerabilities that Waxahachie is not necessarily as good on defense as we thought they would be. Fortunately, their quarterback, Jerry Meyer, has been everything that people said that he was going to be, and he's kind of keeping Waxahachie in these games. But he even showed a little bit of vulnerability now. He threw 2 interceptions in that game. And remember this game last year, Ward? I remember we were getting all kinds of updates, and it turned late, turned late in the first half when Waxahachie got a pick six in that game, and Cedar Hill kind of fell off. So I know Cedar Hill has been circling this game for a while because of last year, but everything you said, Ward, this is like their last shot to have a chance to make the playoffs. So they're going to give everything. They're going to give everything to Waxahachie. Waxahachie has earned the favorite role in this game. I think Waxahachie should be considered the favorite, but I would say in the upset watch potential, 55-45. I mean, Cedar Hill has a really good chance to win this game. And if Cedar Hill can play the way that we thought they could going into the year, kind of gets into Forney and Rockwall and kind of that potential unrealized or lack of potential realized, I think Cedar Hill has a great opportunity to win this game if they get past those penalties, Ward, and play the kind of football that we thought we would see out of them, and they could lean on Waxahachie and use that big offensive line to open up some holes and then let Crochet be able to get the deep ball, because that was what Mesquite Horn did. They were able to use the run to open up the pass. So if Cedar Hill can do that, they have a really good chance to win this game. But again, I don't trust it.
Yeah, they you gave it to Forney, but I'm giving it to Cedar Hill as my disappointment thing. So I penciled them at 3 in the preseason, and now we're looking at 5, maybe even 6. So who knows what's going to happen with them. So big game down there, and it's good to have a good one for the old Country Roads game. Move down to
Did you
three.
tell Jason not to eat food, like just kind of fast on Thursday to make sure
Yeah,
when he gets
exactly.
over to Lumpkin that
He
he'll be
can lump.
taken care of.
He'll be walking out lumpy after that. 3-5A, my guy. We're talking. This Denton Ryan and Azle. Azle's undefeated, but Denton Ryan's they haven't played a team like Denton Ryan yet. So tell me what you feel about this. Has
Yeah,
Azle's already sealed up that 4th spot in your mind, right?
yeah, I mean they've already beat Birdville and Brewer, and now they beat Fossil Ridge, so they've got the buffer wins. But they haven't played Richland, Toledo, or Denton Ryan. It's kind of funny because if you just look at records, you'd be like, oh, undefeated Azle. Here comes another test for Denton Ryan. Denton Ryan's going to beat the living smack out
Yeah.
of Azle. I mean, this is but to me, this is what I'm looking for. Two things in this game: how can Azle be competitive against Toledo, Richland, and Denton Ryan? And then can Azle be competitive in the first round of the playoffs? Because I got a chance to see Saginaw and Arlington Heights this past week, and I wasn't very impressed. So I want to see if Azle can keep this thing within 21-28. I think they would be a team that could beat whoever.
Oh, I think so too.
Probably Saginaw in the first round of the playoffs as of right now. But if this is one of those 63-6 games or something that it gets really away from them, then maybe they don't have a chance to win. So Denton Ryan, big favorite, despite the fact that Azle is undefeated. But how can Azle play in this kind of a game? And how does their high-powered offense work against a really athletic defense like Denton Ryan?
That's what I'm saying. Well, you just mentioned it right there, the high-powered offense. That's why I think it'll be a 3-5A Division I sweep, because they're 6-0 and they're playing the same quality teams that they'll face in 4-5A, and they're putting up 6 touchdowns a game. And each of them, no matter how their offensive plays, as you saw with Arlington Heights and Saginaw, it's not like they're offensive juggernauts. No matter how Azle's defense plays, I feel they get a win over whoever the top spot is. Speaking about the top spot over there, could Pascal slide in there? They're playing Saginaw this week. Talk to him.
Calibration indicates that they should. The way they beat Chisholm Trail kind of says that Pascal could do that. I got voices in my head, Ward. I'm not Randy Orton right now. I heard from one person who is very familiar with both teams, who thought that Fort Worth Pascal is the best team in this district. They're much more disciplined. They run a really good scheme. But I also talked to another coach in this district who said that they think that Pascal is kind of doing all of this with smoke and mirrors. And against Chisholm Trail had 7 players out, so that's why that game looks so bad. And that once Pascal starts playing really schematic teams, it's going to get away from them. So I look at both of these, and if they know who they are, they're about to find some trust issues here. So if like, oh, that's me, I was telling Diggs that, and then the other coach is like, oh, that was me, I was telling Diggs that. One of them is going to be wrong. I trust the coach that told me that Pascal is smoke and mirrors. So I'm taking Saginaw in this game. And again, I did my own little research into Chisholm Trail. Yeah, they were losing a lot of starters in that game. And Saginaw is not pretty, but they are very sound. And I don't think they're going to make mistakes. So if Saginaw can force a couple of mistakes out of Pascal, I think they're going to win that game. Or it could turn out that the other coach was more right, and I should have listened to him. And
I was going to say, which one of the coaches gets blocked? The one who gave him the right information. The other one never gets talked to again. It's this right. Pascal kind of reminds me, to coincide with and collaborate with Houston area, because me and Diggs were talking about it. Pascal was a team that floated around in 6A and weren't really doing much. They couldn't compete with them. Then they get into 5A and they feel like they can compete, and they have. As you see, they're 4-1 in district, or 5-1 on the season, what have you. There's a team in Houston called Spring Woods, and they've been playing in the 17-6A district with Cy-Fair that had LJ Johnson, who's at SMU, and a Stratford team that had Andrew Luck play for them, and they're just getting the doors beat off them. And both me and Step were talking about how, hey, once they get down in 5A, they haven't been there in a while. Once they get in with these Houston ISD teams, they're finally going to compete, and maybe they'll be a playoff favorite. Well, they're getting their doors blown off by HISD. So it's not happening for Spring Woods like it is for Pascal. So whether they're using smoke or mirrors, whatever it takes, it looks like it's getting them into the postseason. Whereas the Spring Woods team they're probably just like, all right, why don't we just give this program up? We can't even beat the HISD teams. It ain't working out for me. But that was a nice little comparison there. Go ahead.
Well, one thing I thought was a little funny was I made kind of I'll make some snarky comments on Twitter, Ward. I don't know if you
True.
know that about me.
I know that.
But the quarterback for Saginaw, Roman Morales, didn't play the first quarter, and then he kind of came in the second quarter, which generally speaks to me as some sort of suspension, like you're suspended for a quarter. So I made the snarky comment that I guess that his honors algebra 2 grade wasn't quite to the Rough Rider standard or something, so he had to sit out a quarter. And his dad actually responded to me and said, no, his AP physics score is quite good. He's a little bit better than his alarm clock. So make sure, Roman, you're waking up on time. Get to those practices. Got to wake up, Ward.
There's a district title.
I don't do mornings either, so I don't blame
you. Exactly. Your 8 a.m. Morales is his 1:30 p.m. So don't worry about it. He'll get up. All right, Frisco, Wakeland, Frisco. We're going to try to figure out this 5A, 5-5A. We figured out that Lone Star's in. We figured out that Reedy's in. We're trying to figure out which one of these two teams could possibly be in. Can the ghost of Jackson Veriwick bring back pump life into Frisco?
He's smiling right now, and he's going to be smiling even more after this pick. But we have complete what I call cross calibration, and cross calibration is kind of determining if A is better than B, B is better than C, and C is better than A. This has happened twice now in this district, where you've got like this kind of complete cross calibration, where you've got all these situations where everybody outside in the bottom 6 can say, I beat somebody who beat somebody else. In this now with Lebanon Trail was the last team that didn't have a win, and now Lebanon Trail beat Frisco Centennial, who beat Frisco, and like you can do this all night. But it really comes down to the fact now that Frisco Wakeland and Frisco Heritage, who I thought would be competing for this 4th playoff spot, they played each other in a very close game, and Frisco has a chance to beat Wakeland and then kind of be on top of that. So if Frisco can beat Wakeland, I think Frisco is pretty much locked in and kind of buffered in that number 4 spot. And the way they're playing right now, I have no faith in Wakeland. So I think Frisco is going to overcome that game against Frisco Centennial earlier in the year and leave it in the rearview mirror and find a way to make the playoffs. And I think they're going to do it against Wakeland.
So you got Frisco and McKinney North. It's the last 2, right? Or you're not committed
McKinney North 3 and Frisco 4.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, let's move on to
McKinney North ain't going to lose any of those teams. So it's going to Frisco's going to basically have 4 losses, but still have all the tiebreakers to get in there.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to 7-5A Division 1. Burleson Centennial, and we haven't figured them out this whole year, although we're starting to figure them out, and it's not in a positive way. As they're taking on Tyler, tell me your thoughts on this one. What do we have
6-5 game, Ward. Why don't you care about Carrollton Creekview and R.L. Turner? Why aren't you advocating for that to make the show?
That's true. Creekview about to be 7-0. How about that? Because I had 2 undefeateds. I didn't have an undefeated against a winless or whatever R.L. Turner.
It's the battle of Josie Lane. Why do you not care about Josie Lane? That's in your neighborhood.
Give me a deep analysis on that one. Get deep on me.
Carrollton Creekview wins. That's your deep analysis.
Oh, brother. All right, talk to me about this one.
Deep, I'm even giving superficial analysis on this because Burleson Centennial went away from that triple option into the spread. They've got a sophomore quarterback. It's just not clicking. They've had a couple of coaches turn over. Some of the coordinators have turned over. And this is basically for 4th place. So this game is on shovel watch because the loser of this is getting the shovel next week. And I think Burleson Centennial is finally going to get their well-earned shovel that they've been looking at all season. And all of a sudden, now that they've gotten away from playing the Sam Houstons of the world, they're taking the shovel award. Tyler High looks kind of like Crowley did, where they figured some things out in the second half of the season, starting to look more like they thought they would. I can't tell you how many times, Ward, it kind of makes me mad because our friend Alonzo has called me a flip-flopper. And I do not like being called a flip-flopper.
He knows how to push your buttons.
I don't like being called a flip-flopper, but I don't think if you make a pick in April, you stick with it. I think you learn and evolve as the data kind of evolves. But this is one of those districts where if you look at my original picks, I was like Highland Park 1, Red Oak 2, Midlothian 3, Tyler High 4, Burleson Centennial 5, and then Joshua 6 and Cleveland 7. But then the way the district has kind of gone through, Tyler High looked like they're not going to be able to make it. Then all of a sudden Joshua looks like, okay, Joshua's got something. I think Joshua's going to make the playoffs. And if Tyler High beats Burleson Centennial, it's going to revert right back to the campfire, and it's going to sound exactly like we said it was going to happen in the first place. But there was a time I believe in Joshua. So maybe I am a flip-flopper. I don't know, Ward. Maybe I need to go to therapy for that.
It sounds like
Tyler High is looking like the kind of team we thought they were going to be going into things. They were very dominant against Joshua in the second half, looked great against Cleburne. This will be win number 3 if they get it. And I think that they have the defensive talent and the athleticism to keep Burleson Centennial under wraps. And I think they have the offensive talent if Burleson Centennial is able to find something that they can go score for score. So I like Tyler High in this game.
You know, if you and Alonzo had some basketball talent, you guys could have been on those old and one mixtapes because you got the nicknames already. You're the flip flopper, and Alonzo is the button pusher. He knows how to push them buttons on you, get you riled up. Ladies and gentlemen, the button pusher, and here comes the flip flopper.
So are you saying that we need to have a basketball segment, me and him, like a little digging for wisdom, and we'll just go back and forth on basketball?
Do some great moves and take it to the hoop, do all that kind of stuff.
Let's give you a tip because I know basketball season kind of starts in 2 or 3 weeks. Who is the number 1 team in basketball?
That's
in
a 6A? Good question. That is such a good question.
Who's number 1?
I have no clue. I'm thinking about just football.
Because nobody's going to say it's Plain East despite them being the reigning and defending state champions. So everybody's like they're done with them.
Well, so they graduated each and every player on the team, so it's not like a. Well, I guess they do have that big guy coming back, right? The center.
Yeah, just DJ Hall, their best player. But, other than that.
Everybody else is gone. That's a good question.
I'll do it, Alan.
Allen's the best team? All right. All right, what do we got in 3-5A Division 2, man? They're trying to sort this thing out. And Seguin is starting to free fall.
It's my second game of the week on Thursday. And all of a sudden, Ward, and it kind of felt like this last year, too, that Arlington Seguin, early in the year, okay, they've got something, and then all of a sudden they're starting to drop. They lost to Timberview, lost to Argyle. They lose to Colleyville Heritage, then they lose to Summit. It's like all of a sudden they've got 4 or 5 losses and they're not in the playoffs. Yeah. Now that Summit has beaten Timberview, I think that Summit is kind of safe. And now Arlington Seguin has got to win this game because if they can't win this game, even if they can pull an upset later on in the season, they still may get out on tie differentials. So I think that Arlington Seguin is in a very dangerous spot right now. Even though Braden Blewett is injured, it seems like Colleyville Heritage is kind of next man up, and they're figuring out some offensive schemes and finding different ways to get the ball into the running backs' hands, and some of their other receivers are stepping up. I think Colleyville Heritage is going to win this game, and all of a sudden, I had Arlington Seguin Award ranked like number 4 in the area at some point, and now they may not make the playoffs. This is basically kind of a shovel watch for them because if they can't win this game, they are in deep trouble.
Deep trouble. They're free falling. They're Tom Petty in this thing.
I'm going to go watch them.
Go see with your own eyes what's going on over there.
Put me in Arlington ISD. Who's shooting that game for us? Surely you got somebody going to that game.
Surely he's going to go to it. Probably it's going to be Jason again. So there you have it. Jason's going to everything.
Jason doesn't like me.
He likes you. You just don't talk to him.
He yelled at me in the press box because he's like, you talk bad about me on the podcast like I'm doing right now. And then all of a sudden he's like yelling at me and saying like, I have the authority of Ward to do this to you. And then he like slaps me like I'm Ric Flair or something.
He slapped you. He slapped you.
Like that. It's like that. He's like that. He's like that.
All right, take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. You're making it seem like the airplane skit where the woman in there's getting beat down by everybody.
Why are we going to see that on social media, Ward?
I'm going to mark it. What about Argyle and Mansfield Summit? Summit all of a sudden is undefeated in district play after a sloppy start. They played 3 of the lower teams first, but they did get one over Timberview. And like you said, they're sitting pretty. And now they're taking on the old Argyle Eagles, who are playing some serious. They got their football going like Argyle does, and it looks like they got this district. But talk to me about this matchup. 2 undefeateds.
My chest hurts, Ward.
I know you hit yourself too hard.
I feel like I'm gonna have to have you pause. I'm gonna have to get some icy hot. Was that something?
Yeah,
the athletes
icy
put
hot.
on a little icy hot or something.
Rub
on there,
some Bengay on it.
Maybe some Bengay or something on there.
Get yourself
Because
together.
I'm injured now. Argyle kind of reminds me of. It's like they got to get going in the second half because it's like you look at all these games that they're playing against these top guys, and it's like 13-7 at halftime. And you're like, oh, maybe they can pull an upset, and then you look at the end of the game, it's always like 38-10 or something. So Argyle, it looks like they put it on in the second half. So I feel like they're going to do the same thing to Summit. I think Summit is going to be athletically, sticks around for a half, but then we're going to look at the score, and Argyle have won like 35-14 by the end of the game. So Mansfield Summit to beat Timberview the way they did, beat them by 1, it's a good win. I think that's got them back in the playoff mix. And this kind of gets back to, you can just kind of clip the thing I said about 7-5A, because if you remember, my original 4 in this district was Argyle, Colleyville Heritage, Summit, and Timberview, and we flip-flopped so many teams in and out of these top 4. We had the Colony in there at one point. We had Arlington Seguin in there at one point, and now it's just the original 4 we stuck with. So maybe I should just stick with the teams I pick in the campfire. I'm a flip-flopper.
Stop
but
flipping
I don't
and
think
flopping.
I am. I just call it like I see it week to week. And right now, I think Argyle is the best team. I don't think Anna's going to make the playoffs, or I don't think Anna's going to win a first play. I don't think they're going to win a playoff game. They will make the playoffs.
Well, they will make the playoffs.
And I think Mansfield Summit is a very competitive team in this district.
Sounds to me like you're flip-flopping.
And I said watch out for Robertson. And they've won 2 district games now.
All right. Well, at some point, you sound like a flip-flopper. So why don't you go ahead and give yourself some more punishments. Go ahead and beat yourself to heck. Why are you beating yourself? Look at him. Why does he keep giving himself Gunther chops? What's going on?
It's Ric Flair chops.
All right, sorry. 4A
Division 2. Long hair
2.
because of Ric Flair. I don't have long hair because of Gunther. What's wrong with you?
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I learned how to chop from Ric Flair. When I was 13 years old, I needed somebody to be a male role model for me, and it was Ric Flair.
And he
Why I
came
have
through
long
for
hair
it.
today. That's a true story. That is opening up psychologically right now. Literally, the reason I have long hair is because of Ric Flair.
Right,
so that's not why I know how to chop. That's why my chest is bleeding right now on your Inside High School sports shirt. Now you have to give me another one.
Get up there and show. Get up and show me how to take a bump.
Ric Flair.
This guy's got problems. All right, listen. Walnut Grove. They finally got to the meet. They're playing all big dogs the rest of the way out, and starting with Anna. You want to get in the playoffs? Play at Walnut Grove. Let's go. Let's win some of these games. You're taking on Anna, Lovejoy, Melissa, and then a powerful Independence team to finish the schedule out. Let's get one of these wins. Get one of these wins. You may not need it anymore since Emerson's jacking around, but let's get one anyway. Talk to me. What's going to happen? Alonzo, the button pusher, he wants to know what's going on.
Alonzo's made me abuse myself because if you look at the tone of this show, since I invoked the name Alonzo, all of a sudden there's abuse going on. There's self-abuse going on. There's personal disclosures coming on. I'm questioning my very existence on life as a flip-flopper. And then you're just sitting here laughing at me, Ward, egging it on.
You're giving yourself a beating. Watch out for your cat, man. Don't kick that cat into the sun. I don't know what's happening over there.
I'm a dog person, a schnauzer person. We don't have cats in the Diggs household.
All right. Well, stop being angry and tell me what's going to happen at Walnut Grove.
I'm just disappointed in Forney.
Okay.
It all started with Forney.
Talked about
really, Forney kind of put me on this ender right now. But I actually came away impressed with Anna the way against Emerson. And one thing I was not expecting that Alonzo did accurately say in some of our discussions was how good Anna's offensive and defensive lines were. I figured 4A Division I coming up to 5A Division II, I didn't really feel much, but Anna beat up Emerson at the point of attack. I mean, they just and I know that CJ Miller, I mean, he's a 5-star D1 guy, future line, which means he'll probably transfer to Prosper, but that's where all the offensive linemen go. But for now, Anna's got them, and they were just opening up holes. And Chumley was getting big yards. Zandre Williams was able to scramble around, and I don't think Walnut Grove is going to have the same infrastructure that Emerson has. So I think Anna's going to be able to go score for score. But Anna's secondary, even though they got Zay Gentry, the transfer from McKinney, there are some big gaping holes back there that you can take advantage of. And I was actually talking, I meant to message you and have you do a little pre-production work, Ward. I know you don't like doing pre-production work.
Right.
But I was talking to Nick Harris before the game, and he was talking about, because he watches Inside High School Sports, the actual show, because I don't watch Inside High School Sports, the actual show.
Take that shirt
But he said, like, he interviewed Haynes Hackney and, like, asked him a question, and he was like, yeah, it's a little bit different than middle school ball or something. I think that's a great clip, like, that you got that on the air, that we got this ninth grader from Walnut Grove who's, like, comparing his experience in 4-5A Division II, his last year's experience playing at Prosper Middle School or something over there.
Benjamin Franklin Middle School.
Right. Division II. And that's the kind of interview insights that Ward can pull out of a freshman player like that. I just don't think Walnut Grove has the offensive line or the defensive line to fight with Anna. So I think Anna's going to win this game. I think they'll go score for a little while, but I think Walnut Grove is going to make a couple of mistakes. But I think Anna's going to make a couple of mistakes too. I think just about in every big game they played this year, they've had 2 or 3 pretty distracting turnovers that kind of make you go, what's going on here, Anna? Unfortunately for Emerson, they had those same turnovers against Anna. But I think Anna's going to win a 63-49 kind of a game and solidify themselves in the 3rd spot. But I don't think they're going to win a playoff game.
No playoff win for them.
Not against Colleyville here.
No. No, you got them at 3.
Yeah, I'm at 3, which means they got to play 3-5-A-2.
That's right. I forgot you got Walnut Grove at 4, obviously. So they'll get Argyle. All right. Well, what are we going to do about Emerson, man? They were a playoff squad at the beginning, but now
we're going to get the shovel out, Ward.
They get the shovel out.
I got shovel watch.
It's a shovel watch game. There it is. They're about to bury one of our favorite coaches, Kendall Miller, about ready to throw some dirt on him. Talk to me.
He was the coach that oversaw the THSCA convention that gave me the Sports Writer of the Year.
Exactly.
And now you're hitting him over the head with the shovel. What kind of thanks am I going to give for him is I'm going to bury him in week 8.
Hit him with the shovel. God,
and a Frisco ISD insider made a very good point, and I kind of agree with this. Like, who do you see on Frisco Emerson coming back that makes you think that Emerson's going to be good next year?
Yeah, they may have to
transfers. It looks like Emerson may be regressing back to the Frisco Independences of the world, and kind of sad because this was a fun run for Frisco Emerson. The Hawkins transfers are obviously a big part of it, but they had some really special talent right now. But this is, unfortunately, it comes and goes in Frisco ISD because it was just 3 years ago we were talking about Frisco Legacy beating Lovejoy on the very last play of the game over there, and now they've lost 27 straight. So it can come and go real quick here in Frisco ISD, and I think Lovejoy is going to have the shovel and bury Frisco Emerson. I can't see a mathematical scenario where Frisco Emerson can make the playoffs if they lose this game. Because even if they upset Melissa, they don't have enough wins to get into a tiebreaker with Melissa. And obviously they have lost the tiebreaker with Walnut Grove and Anna at this point. So if they don't beat Lovejoy, they're done. So shovel watch, and Lovejoy's going to put them out of their misery, I believe.
Put them down. By the way, you're talking about Frisco Liberty, not Legacy. Just to let people know, Frisco Liberty. And they had Everett Stewart over there that we saw the other night on Oregon, who Liberty got so bad, he just flat out stopped playing for him and just went ahead and was done with football right in the middle of the season. But anyway, let's move on to 5-5A. Hey, look at this. We finally got South Oak Cliff back on the board after several.
It's a district championship award, a legitimate district championship. See, if there's a district championship, I'll talk about it, Ward. This is 1 versus 2.
Okay.
And I've actually been a little bit worried. And I'm going to get flack for this on the Facebook groups, and I probably deserve it because saying things like this. But the way South Oak Cliff beat Hillcrest is just like, it's like they got so bored they just don't want to play anymore in the second half. And that's kind of the problem with this. And maybe Woodrow Wilson will push him a little bit. South Oak Cliff is going to win the game. But at some point, you got to start working on the little things. You can't just be pulling off the gas in the second half and just being like, let's just make – and obviously you want to stay healthy and whatnot. But it kind of reminds you of an NFL football game that may have happened on Sunday where a team was comfortably ahead, but they still were looking to get better at things. They were still looking to do some trick plays. They were still looking to keep the gas on the pedal because you're looking big picture, and South Oak Cliff isn't playing like that right now. They're just getting their win and going home. So maybe against Woodrow Wilson, they'll get that going a little bit. But so far, I've not been impressed with the style points in the South Oak Cliff wins in district. But I think they're going to take care of Woodrow Wilson. But will they give us the style points, Ward? That's what we got to find out. I don't know.
We just don't know. Yeah, they did, and they looked like, because of course I was there for a quarter and a half of the Hillcrest. It did look like they were just experimenting with stuff. Coach Todd was, before the game even started, he's just talking with anybody that had nothing to do with the game, talking to the cheerleaders, the parents, all that stuff. And they're still figuring out their 2-quarterback system, because Kopecky's the one who throws, but they got Reggie McNeil Jr. over there from Reggie McNeil is the old Texas A&M great from back in the day. Well, his son moved up from the Houston area here, and he comes in on running when they alternate possessions, at least during the DSD play, and he's getting to run he's the running quarterback over there. So you're probably it did look exactly what you said. I mean, you see it on paper, and I saw it live. It looked like they were bored to death. So we'll see what happens. All right. This one is one I'm really interested in. I want to hear your opinion on it, because Midlothian Heritage had kind of you weren't mad at them, but they had a disappointing non-district schedule. And Crandall is just doing whatever they're supposed to be doing to get any kind of attention. And they've got my attention. I mean, we showed them against Kaufman. They won that game going in overtime, 6-0 now. Talk to me about what you think is going to happen when they go up to Midlothian's stadium there, ISD Stadium.
I should have gone to that game, because that looked like a blast. Crandall and Kaufman, the communities came out. It was fiery, overtime kind of a game, and everything you would expect in that. And Midlothian Heritage, they struggled against Terrell. That was only a 21-14 game. Yeah. So I think that Crandall has a really good chance to pull the upset. But given Midlothian Heritage and Ric Flair theory, I will not chop myself anymore. Maybe give me 5 minutes, I might change my mind. But I think given Ric Flair theory, Midlothian Heritage knows how to win these kind of games, and I think they will assert themselves as district champion and win this game. But Crandall is a fun team, but I still don't think Crandall's talent is as good as it was a couple of years ago with Omisayo and some of those really talented players on that Crandall team. But this Crandall team looks like they're having a little bit more fun, looks like they're a little bit more loose. So I think if they can go out there and play their style of football, I think they're going to need a turnover or two, but they certainly are within striking distance of Midlothian Heritage. But Midlothian Heritage, the way they play, they don't give you that turnover or two. No. So I think that's going to make it hard for Crandall to win that game, given that they're going to need a big play like that. Midlothian Heritage is generally, with their style of football, does not give you those kind of plays.
Did you analyze the box score with Terrell and how that game ended up so close?
I don't think we got it in the morning news because Terrell's.
All right, I was just checking. Terrell didn't want to give up that kind of information. They want to hold it for Ennis, who we're also talking about. And this game just so happens to be Shovel Watch. Shovel Watch. Diggs about ready to hit some team over the head with the shovel like he does his own chest. What's going on in this one? Ennis, we know how bad they've been playing at the beginning of the season. Have they gotten it together to get off this watch? Talk to me.
I actually don't want to talk about this game anymore, because I was just thinking, would it be nice to say something nice about Mesquite Poteet now that they've won 2 district games? I just feel like we should say something nice.
Go ahead.
About
let's go ahead.
I just said it. Nice. Like they've won 2 district games. Isn't that nice?
That's all you had to say.
Mesquite ISD.
That is very nice. That is very nice, and I felt really good for their head coach, who was he looked exhausted after they beat Greenville. Like, oh, finally, now he's got 2 together. That's called a streak.
2 together. They've broken the streak. Now we've got some games. Potentially, if they could beat Ennis, then they just need one upset. We could see a Mesquite Poteet Pirate return to the playoffs.
Let's go.
Not predicting it. Don't think it's likely. Saying it's possible,
okay.
But they'll need Terrell to take care of business against Ennis. But Ennis just hasn't showed any sort of defensive consistency. Grayson Harris is nice, but who else is surrounding him? Obviously, the defense isn't stepping up. Terrell is a very complete team. They've got offensive consistency in the run game. Their defense, as evidenced by holding Midlothian Heritage to only 21, is pretty good. I think they're going to take care of Ennis in a convincing 3-score way.
3 scores. That's a blowout to me, but that's just a regular game to you. That's a 3-score game. All right, let's move it to the small schools, man. This is a Saturday game. Will we see Diggs there? 2 o'clock.
You might see me. If I'm awake, if I get out there, I might go see this game. Because I got my DISD pass, so I don't even have to call anybody. I just go off. I show whenever I want to and don't have to worry about anything more.
There you go.
But this is a game that has been very talked about because you got two Kimball has looked better than Carter. But if you look at the rivalry the last 10 years, Carter has owned Kimball, including last year. So it's like, on one hand, it's wise to say Carter should be considered the cultural favorite in this game, given the way that they beat Kimball. And Kimball was 5A Division II last year, and they beat him then too. So now that Kimball's dropped down, the media, are very high on Kimball. But what have they done to actually earn that, other than the fact that they just look good? But now I'm seeing Timberview, the way they play Timberview, that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to stick with my initial thoughts, and my initial thoughts was I'm not going to flip-flop. Not going to flip-flop.
No flip-flop.
I'm going to taking Kimball.
He is taking Kimball. Kimball has been playing real good. I mean, the Midlothian game was only a 3-point loss, and they've been shutting out squads left and right. So it should be interesting. I'm going to go down there and check it out for sure. I think it's going to get a lot of media attention down there. I know your boys will be down there from the old Dub Network, I'm sure.
The Dub.
They've been talking about it forever, so I'm sure they'll be there. Which I guess
it's
that's
good for the community to have a game with that kind of buzz on a Saturday. So it's great. It's going to be fun.
Just keep the rain away. That's what I want. Because if it starts raining, I know you're going to get up. Rain makes you sleep even longer, so I know you won't get up and go down there.
All right. Bands. I go up in the press box and watch the bands war. It's okay.
Let's talk about weekly fantasy. I'm going to pull the curtain
Talk about the fact we're only 75 minutes into it, and we've covered all the games when you said it was going to go 2 hours.
Well,
you should hit yourself for that, because you don't know my conciseness.
Me having to explain explain this weekly fantasy to the people. Me having to explain this is going to take us to the 2-hour minute, because so you guys know, Diggs gives us all his expertise for a very low price. So because of that, because we don't have to pay him that much, we have to do what they call cater to him. You got to cater to Diggs. You play your little fantasy football games in the NFL and whatever else y'all do. If your guy's on a bye week and you miss it, well, guess what? You lost the game. That's your fault for leaving him in there when he's on a bye. You lose. But since we're catering to Diggs, last week's fantasy is still up in the air because he picked a receiver from Life Oak Cliff who's on their bye week. It only took one click of his ding-dong mouse to figure out that he was on a bye, but he didn't. He chose to pick him anyway, and he doesn't want to take a loss like a man, because he didn't want to take the loss. I would have to take it in my NFL fantasy. So I catered to Diggs. I said, all right, buddy boy, you're going to have 4 guys playing this week in fantasy. We're going to take this Demarion Woods. I forget what's his last name. Demarion Mays. You don't even know your own place.
Demarion Mays.
We're going to use Demarion Mays' stats from this year to finish off, from this week to finish off last week.
247 yards, Ward.
He needs that because I picked.
Basically giving you the game because he's got to get 204. But if he gets 247 yards, do I not deserve to win?
No, you don't deserve to win.
I deserve to win.
This is where you should start smacking yourself in the chest.
I'm going to torture you with double trouble again this week from last week.
Oh,
that's really what shouldn't be fair, but I'm going to do it.
You should smack yourself now for picking a bye week. Go ahead, give yourself a pop.
I've got very favorable contract terms. Let's just say that.
I would like for you guys to call in and see how bogus this is. Write in to Twitter and say, you know what, Wizzy, we agree with you. This is bogus. You got your win by almost 250 points, but no, we got to wait it out, figure out what this old Demarion Mays does, and let's talk about this week's picks. I should be 3-4 right now, but anyway, talk about this week's picks. Look who your quarterback is. This is ridiculous. Cameron Phillips, so you're going to get 400 points quarterback this week, and he throws to this receiver who'll give you 246 points to lose by a point.
He's going to give
for
you
last week.
237 points this week.
There's no way I'm going
last
to be able
week.
to keep track of any
And
of this
then we're going to
mess.
get all these yards this week because they play Madison this week. So it's going to be a high-scoring game because Madison can go score for score, and Life Oak Cliff can go score for score. So like Oak Cliff, Life Oak Cliff is going to
That's how
take
upset I am.
to the promised land.
You got me.
Why don't you stop yourself, Ward? Let's see it. Come on.
Like Oak Cliff. Oh, so wrong of me.
So wait,
what a
that is not a
stupid
good
thing.
Come on, put some
I'm
mustard
hiding
on
it.
that thing.
I can't
Put some
believe
mustard
it.
on it. Come on,
I'm
Ward.
not putting any mustard on it. How in the heck?
Like that. Hit it.
I don't deserve it. What I
You
do
got
deserve.
money on. You have protection.
It's back. Look at that. That's what we're meant. I don't need to hit anybody. Life Oak Cliff, not like. What a dummy I am. All right. Well, this is who I'm picking. Surprise. Surprise. I had already chosen this before, but Presley Harper's going out there, and you've already told me he's going to score me 450 points. Let's go. Casagrande. Should I put him at running back? It's too late. I've already made a pick at running back. All right. That's who I got next week. You're going to the Pineapple Under the Sea, going with Chumley, Edward Chumley from Anna. Who
He impressed me against Emerson, and Walnut Grove's defense is not Emerson's defense, so I think he's going to explode and get me 250 yards.
Did he do any of those cutback runs that I like so much? He starts running right up the middle.
He did.
That guy's special.
He's good.
That's actually who I picked, but I switched it once I saw you. I'm going to go with the one-headed monster, Davis Penn. I don't even know he'd probably get over 100, but that may be it. So I'm going to need a lot out of Presley. But I went with Davis Penn because I had limited time to switch up my pick. I didn't want to go there. And you're picking the other guy, Brock Boyd, the receiver. So that ought to be interesting because he's leading. He's got over 40 catches and closing in on 700-800 yards. So that could be a dangerous pick for me, especially since you said they're going to tee off on him. You got anything to say about it?
Northwest is really good on the defensive line. I think that Angelo Renda is going to have to get it out to the edges, and who better than Brock Boyd?
Brock Boyd from the Boyd family. And then I'm picking Bowling Green's own Dylan Talley over at Bowie. He showed me something last week in the highlights that I saw. I forgot all about him. I wanted to pick him at one point this week, and since this game's not even good enough to be on our list here, so it's probably going to be a walk away for Talley.
It was early on our list, by the way. It was literally there. We literally talked about it.
Diggs didn't want anything to do with it. I had to force it in there. Ridiculous. Anyway, that's what we got. Now I'm all kinds of frustrated, but we're still digging for wisdom. I'm frustrated because I have to hold on to my celebration of a win for a week, and then somehow it's going to find out that I won't even get it. So that'll really upset me. Oh, man. I got to calm myself down. All right, so I'm going to go. We're going to stop beating on each other.
That's what happens when you have to go to Houston, right? Or you just start beating yourself up.
That's a 3.5-hour drive. We're going, crash. All right, Diggsy, we'll see us wherever you're going to be. You say you're going to be at 2 games Thursday, maybe 1 Saturday, and definitely Plano East on Friday. So Good luck on your travel.
4-game week, Ward. It's like I'm getting ready. I'm getting playoff ready.
You are getting playoff ready, aren't you? What a hoss. All right, buddy boy. We'll talk to you next week.